Hey YouTubers, Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. Thanks for joining me for another really special edition of Rants and Lifestyle. Yes, I'm doing a Rants and Lifestyle. It's been a while since I've done a Rants and Lifestyle. I have a lot of people asking me if I could do a Rants and Lifestyle, but the problem is I gotta do it late. I got kids I gotta take care of and things I gotta do. Anyways, I'm just want to do this for you guys. I'm gonna have some open lines if you guys want to weigh in on some topics. Tonight, I'll be talking about this debt clock that you see here racing behind me. America's student loan debt, global debt, world debt. What's that other one? Oh, women dating to pay off student loans. Interesting. Student money. What a shocker, eh? And Facebook emphasizes Facebook to emphasize friends, not news, in a series of changes. What else we got here? Some Bitcoin talk, a little bit of Bitcoin talk, and I'll just discuss with you guys how to set up a mock portfolio, so you guys could learn how to track your stocks. If you or just make a fake portfolio, research a few companies, and then it's all free. You don't have to spend a dime. You learn, you study, you follow the patterns in the market. Wow, there's a whole bunch of people tuning in right now. Holy smokes. It's like 10 o'clock at night. It is January 15th, 2018. I'm broadcasting out of Merritt, British Columbia. Majority of people are watching this show. It is already Monday morning. And I'll be taking you through the night. It is I, Mike Martin. So I'm going to tune it down a bit, guys. I'm going to just chillax. Relax a bit. Sip on some water here. And I'm gonna take in some of your calls if you guys want to talk. Look at that. That is the world debt clock, my friend. This is what the world's in debt. I got another article here about global debt load is $291 trillion. Are these dangerous times? That's what the article says. And let's take a look at this, people. Let me try and zoom this in for you. There we go. There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, perfect. You guys can see that. So let's talk about this, guys. So a lot of people have been getting in over their heads lately about debt. And someone is saying, holy smokes, another conversation about debt. You, Teaspoon, you're young. Listen to this. Listen to an enormous mistakes. People make so many mistakes in life when it comes to financing. And you're young. I know who you are. You're young. And you need to learn from these mistakes that have been made so you're not doomed to repeat it. So here's the United States of America. So let's start maybe from the bottom here. Top 10 countries. So Australia is number 12. And like you look at countries like Belgium. I think is number 13 there in the list. Belgium really isn't that big of a country. And it's $508 billion in debt. I had to, like, mathematically think this in my head. That's $508 billion in debt, national debt of Belgium. And I think you could fit 2,000 Belgians inside of Brazil. So why does Belgium have so much debt? Look at Australia. I can understand why Australia has a lot of debt. It's $676 billion. Yeah, go ahead. Steve wants to call in, bud. People call in. That doesn't really matter. But Australia is $676 billion in debt with a population of 24 million. And look at Belgium's population. 10 million. Holy smokes. So this goes all the way down. It shows you pretty much every country in debt here. And I was kind of astonished to see Indonesia. Indonesia is in so much debt too. Look at that. But Indonesia, look at that. It has 266 million people. The amount of debt, I mean, I don't even think Indonesia has a standing army, a major standing army to have to be in such an indebted. Same thing with Belgium. $508 billion in debt. That is huge, people. So Australia ranks number 12, Argentina number 11, and Argentina's population has grown to 44 million. Last time I checked, it was 32 million. Someone's asking where I'm seeing this. This is worlddebtclock.org, guys. Worldsdebtclock.org. It's a world debt clock. Just type in USA debt clock or Canada debt clock on Google, and you will find this page. It shows you every country live, real time, with the GDP, with their. It tells you right here up the top. I'll get to that in a second. So there's Australia there, Argentina, Canada has made the top 10. Okay, somebody is calling in. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mike. This is Rhoda. How are you?
Good. Hi. I'm doing fantastic. How's your night going?
Good, good. I'm calling you from Edmonton, Alberta.
Nice.
And the Walking Journey sent me over to you.
Nice. Yeah, Walking Journey is a good guy. Walking Journey is he's a true guy. He's a real guy. You don't find too many real people nowadays.
Yeah, he's real. I've been talking to him for a while. He's really, really cool. And I wanted to say that I love your channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask how your vegan, sorry, not your vegan, your keto diet is going.
Oh, God. All right. So, I don't know if I'm following the diet 100% correctly, but all I did was I just haven't eaten sugar in like 6 weeks. Any sugar at all. And I haven't had any carbs at all.
Oh, my God. And you're still standing? That's amazing.
And I've lost, I think, 11 pounds or 12 pounds.
That's amazing. His blood pressure is down a little bit.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, when you go down too fast, you end up putting it back on faster. So it's better to take your time to go down because then it's true weight loss.
Yeah, and not just water, please.
Exactly, because water retention goes down fast, and then you think you lost a ton of weight when you didn't.
Yeah. I'm working on losing.
But that's all I do. No sugar. I don't eat sugar. I haven't eaten chocolate in weeks now. And I was a huge chocolate eater, and big time. I miss chocolate. I miss donuts. I miss all kinds of stuff. But you know what? I don't mind having steak. I have my steak and eggs in the morning sometimes. I got my bacon and eggs. I got all kinds of stuff I eat, and I'm slimming down.
Yeah, I'm ready. Well, kudos to you. I have to work on that this year again. I was working on that last year. This year I'm doing it again, but last I gained 25 pounds, though.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you think of DACA? Because I heard you talk about living in the USA and not being approved for a green card. Because I lived in the USA and I had to pay, well, my parents did, for about $20,000 for a green card.
So you got your green card in the United States, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, did you move from Canada? Where'd you move from?
From Canada, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And are you in the United States right now?
No, I'm in Edmonton.
Oh, that's right. You're in Alberta. I'm sorry. You said Alberta when you called in. I'm very sorry. I tried getting my visa down in the United States. I tried getting a green card. I didn't want residency. I just wanted a green card to work, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to open a facility. It's a long story, but I wanted to open a business. And so they just wouldn't let me open a business outright. So I had to get a company to sponsor me, which I did. And I spent a lot of money trying to get my citizenship and a lot of time, 5 years. And not citizenship, but like a green card. And then I was declined at the meeting.
No, but how do you feel about DACA?
Who?
DACA.
What's DAPA?
You don't know the Dreamers Act right now that's going on?
Is that what's happening? People coming? Is that the thing that's where people are coming into Canada?
No, well, it's like the DACA, the Dreamers Act that Trump is trying to revoke.
Oh, why? Is it to make citizenship easier or harder?
No, he's trying to basically kick out the 900,000 people who were brought by their parents. What do you think of that?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Like, the problem is the United States, for the longest time, and I'm talking about since the auto industry died in the 70s, okay?
Yeah.
The United States has had the raw end of the stick or the short end of the stick when it comes to deals.
Because they keep taking in poor people, but they wouldn't let you in.
That's okay.
It's for registered nurses. That's kind of like, doesn't that really annoy you?
It doesn't bother me. I don't long on that. I see it. I see it. I understand, and I understand that, but it's not my country. I can't do nothing about it, right?
Yeah. Well, spending all that money, and I just thought it was interesting that you couldn't get it, and all you did was spend money and start your own business, and I went to school with dreamers, basically, and I went to college with them in the States, and I was paying, and they weren't. Kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So, but as much as I wish we had a little Trump here in Canada, that would probably help. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is the housing crisis. Because you keep saying about a housing crisis.
Oh God, I could talk about housing for 3 days.
Okay, well, I just want to know, the interest rates are going up because what?
I believe that the interest rates in Canada has to go up because Canada is very heavily dependent on housing to prop up its economy.
Yeah, and oil, I think.
Well, oil's in the pits right now, right? It's at $63 a barrel.
Yeah.
So,
the pits, yeah.
So what's happening is we don't produce like we do. We don't export like we do. Our GDP isn't like it was in the 80s. Everything's changed. So now we're more dependent on student loans, unsecured debt, secured debt, mortgages, and second mortgages and third mortgages to keep our economy afloat.
Yeah.
So the only way to stimulate the economy is to raise interest rates or to double the price on our gasoline.
Double the price of gasoline. Oh.
That's the only way that could stimulate the interest rate because gas is regulated at a federal level and it's like 70% gas. Or they could triple the price of our booze because our booze right now is 46% tax.
Oh, yeah.
That's why when you go to the U.S. and you buy a case of beer for next to nothing.
Yeah.
And then you buy the same case of beer in Canada for $20 more.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. We need to stimulate the economy. There's a problem with our economy is just not there, and we're not getting the numbers that we deserve to know or get. We're not getting what we need to know what's going on. And that's a problem. And if the United States creates more jobs like it is, and infrastructure gets stronger and brings more jobs back home, we're in a lot of trouble in Canada because our dollar will become like the peso.
So we have to create our own jobs, this and that, or I don't know.
We have to start thinking outside the box and start getting really, really smart about how to do things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I visited Vancouver. I don't want to keep you, but I visited Vancouver, and I have friends. I know a lot of people. I don't know if you heard of Lloydminster.
Who?
Lloydminster.
Not really.
Little oil town, but I used to live there. A lot of my friends moved from Vancouver, and they were so happy they can get rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,200 because they couldn't find that in Vancouver because they were paying for a 1-bedroom. They're paying like $1,700 or $1,800 a month, and this was a couple years, or so 3 years ago when I met them.
Yeah, a 1-bedroom is $2,400 a month.
Okay, well, I met them in 2013.
Yeah.
And they were young, and they were paying something $1,800 something dollars a month for a 1-bedroom. I'm like, how the hell? And they showed me pictures of it. I'm like, are you serious? Are you shitting me?
Yep, that's what's happening. And you know what the problem is? We live in a time right now that it's really hard to make $1,800. Back in the early 80s, it was a lot easier to make money than it is today.
I think the Vancouver thing is what I've been reading is that the Asian people, Chinese people came.
Yes. What happens is a lot of people came in. They parked their money in the country. They parked their money because, and I'd be very frank with you. If I was a Chinese nationalist or something, I would want to park my money somewhere else but China. But that's what's been happening, and a lot of there's been a runoff on their banking system where everyone's pulling out, and China's been losing a ton of wealth.
Yeah, but I thought someone told me, one of my friends who is Chinese, is that the government is going into their accounts, so they want to come and store their money somewhere else.
Exactly, they want to park their money in the United States, Canada, anywhere else but China. But
yeah,
you know, you can't blame them too. If some of these people worked hard to build a fortune and then they lose it all because of nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, you can't really blame them for that.
But I blame the government in BC.
Exactly.
Like how is that little house that you were that little house $1.4 million or even $1 million? Like what's going on? I don't know who's really going to make $250,000 at 30.
Yeah.
Well, you and your wife are gonna make $250,000 $35 million house. But that's just like unreal. And what jobs do they have in Vancouver? I've never seen anyone rush to Vancouver. Well, the last 5 years that I've known my friends, I don't know anyone rushing to Vancouver to work.
Yeah. The problem is BC doesn't pay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
BC is one of the lowest paying provinces.
I already knew that they're cleaning up their money, but I think that the politicians have sold them out.
You could get a nursing position in Las Cruces, New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere, and you could get paid almost double the money, and the house is $200,000.
Where?
I'm just giving an example. I'm just saying Las Cruces, New Mexico, for example. You could get a house there for $200,000-300,000, but a big house with a pool, right? And you could get a nursing position down there for pretty much a lot less. You get paid more, and you pay a lot less to live.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's terrible, but I'm glad you're married because your house looks beautiful.
Yep. Thank you.
And I hope you continue to make your videos. I've just been turned on by YouTube by Anthony, the Walking Journey, so I've been watching all your videos, and it's like really interesting. You always have your housing crisis thing every week. So how does housing changes every week? I guess, right?
Housing changes every hour.
Oh my God.
Yep, every hour there's a new article up. I got 11 articles up already coming up for Monday. The Wednesday show, sorry. The amount of housing articles out of Australia, out of New Zealand, out of the UK, out of the United States, out of all the English speaking countries is out of control.
Yeah, Australia is outrageous. I hope theirs goes down like 50%.
Even if it goes down 50%, it's still non-obtainable. It's still non-obtainable by the Canadian proper, like the Canadian that lives in Canada. It's impossible still to buy, because if you look at a $300,000 mortgage at let's say rates go up to 5 or 6%, right? Yeah. If you take out a $300,000 mortgage, you're looking at about $18,000 a year in finance charges.
Just a payment, just mortgage
on $300,000. But if houses go half price and let's say $800,000, okay, from $1.4 million, for example, you're looking at about $70,000 to $85,000 a year in finance charges.
Nobody could pay that.
Nobody. So even if it goes half, no one could still buy it.
Yeah.
So that's the problem we're in right now, and it's really big.
Yeah, and people have already bought it, and then if it goes down any lower, they lose everything.
Well, because who's going to pay for something that's worth less than what they bought it for?
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah. Anyways, well, have a good night. I'm going to keep watching your show. I won't hold you up.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your night, and let's hope oil prices go back up for Canada's sake. Goodbye. Anyways, another caller in from Alberta, and versus okay, everyone. The comment section is wow, it's going fast, pretty. Anyways, let's keep going here. Okay, so Canada, number 10. Canada is now officially in the top 10 most indebted countries. This is live, people. We're watching this live. So Canada, 36 million, almost 37 million. I do not believe that. I need you guys to comment. How many people do you actually think live in Canada? Because remember the article I read for you guys last week that Canada's biggest cities are not so densely populated because there's nobody around, because nobody could afford to buy? Where's 36 million people? I've driven across Canada. I've driven from Vancouver to Prince Edward Island. I did it 2 times. And I've driven to Toronto from Vancouver. I've driven to Quebec, Vancouver. I've driven around the Great Lakes. I don't think there's 36 million people living in Canada. I really don't. That's just what I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe leave a comment that. I don't think there's that much. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay. Brazil. Woo! Brazil. La 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 la. So 1 trillion. So Canada. Sorry, let's go back to Canada. 1 trillion 524 billion. How do you go from Argentina from 292 billion to 1 trillion 524 billion? 1 trillion. I'm not used to counting these numbers. I really am not. So, like, I have to look at the zeros. Okay, wait. There's 3 more. There's 3 more. Then that's a billion. Okay, that's a trillion. Okay, we're at 1 trillion 524 billion dollars. Canada's national debt. So let's divide that by 36 million supposed people. What does that break down to? Somebody calculate that in the comments for me, please. Somebody go into the comments. What's 1 trillion 524 billion divided into 36 million people? I want to know how much debt each person is in. But look at Brazil. 213 million people. I've been to Brazil, I think, like 11 times. I go to Brazil a lot because I speak Portuguese. And I go all the time. I have a lot of friends down there. I probably have somebody watching this from right now. Right now. Oh, man. Look at Brazil. 213 million people. 1.33 trillion. $1,337 billion in its national debt. Mind you, Brazil has a big standing army. They have a huge armed forces. But when you divide 213 million into 1 trillion, 1.3 trillion, it's a lot less per capita per person than it is for Canada. Wow. Italy! 61 million. That's 7 or 8th place. 2 trillion, $2.5 trillion international debt of Italy. Wow. Now let's move up to India. Population 1,398,000,000. National debt 1 trillion, $1.2 trillion. And okay, somebody just made the thing. That is, hold on, comma. There's no commas here. 1, 2, 3. 1. Is that $1 million per person? Yeah, it's $1 million per person in Canada. Okay, here we go. Yeah, somebody comment. $41,307,000. Yeah, 41 large. You're looking at per person. That's huge. But then but Brazil, 213 million and 1.3, 1 trillion 300, frick, that's so much, 300 billion would actually be a lot less. I think it would be anywhere from 8 to 12,000 per person in debt, I'm thinking. But someone's saying, welcome to the IMF, Mike. That, if for people that don't know, that means the International Monetary Fund. Okay, so Brazil, let's move up. Italy, 61 million, 2 trillion, 2.5 trillion in debt. India, 1,398 people, 1 trillion, 229 billion. Let's keep going. Someone's asking me, what kind of razors do I use in my head? I actually use the ones that are disposable, that bend, like they bend to the contour of your head. I think Andre Agassi uses the same ones I do. Look at France! Ever since France, I think ever since Northern Africa, Libya was destabilized, France lost a lot of its income from, or extortion money, if you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it. But France, 67 million, 2,507 billion in debt. How come this is not on the front page of the news? I mean, this is huge. Wow. That's about 50 grand per person. The United Kingdom. So you're looking at the UK, you're looking at Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and England. And that is 66 million people. That is $2.4 trillion. Mind you, the UK has a bigger, somewhat big standing army. Somewhat used to be the peacekeeper of the English-speaking world. Oh, someone's calling in. Private caller. They hung up. Let's go back to Germany here. 78 million people, $2.2 trillion in debt. Germany never really recovered debt-wise since World War I. Pretty much since World War I, Germany was in huge deficit. Then hyperinflation kicked in after World War, just after a couple of years after World War I. And then they kind of rebuilt for World War II. And then things collapsed again, and everyone knows what happened with that. So, Japan. What place is Japan in? Third place. 126 million people in Japan. Wow, Japan's population is big. That's why it's the 5th or 6th or 7th biggest language in the world. Okay, someone's calling in here. Private caller. Hello? Hello? Are you there? Is anybody home? They hung up. So let's go here. Japan. 126 million. And China. 1,395,000,000 people. National debt is 2,234 billion. $2.2 trillion in debt. And now let's move to the United States. Someone keeps calling in. You want to talk, please? Hello?
Hey there, Mike Martin, Steve the plumber.
Hey, Stevie, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, you know, surviving, trying to live the dream.
That's right, buddy. How are you? How are things? Tell us.
Things are well. Things are busy. They're a little crazy here in the Greater Toronto area.
Okay, so what's going on?
Well, seeing a lot of things happen from real estate market to the business market. But you know me, I like to talk about the real estate market.
Of course.
I hate to be a doom and gloom, but I think I can feel it. I can taste it. It's definitely we're at that curve where we're going to see a lot of things come to fruition with interest rates on the rise, and I think he's definitely going to go on Wednesday. That is Stephen Poloz, Bank of Canada governor, but RBC, the IBC, and TD, they all followed suit, and they raised their 5-year fixed to 5.14.
Yep, I see them going up to 5.9 to 6.5.
I see that too, and that actually would be very, very healthy still in terms of an interest rate. I know that people can probably get a little bit better of a rate, but let's make no mistake here. The actual overall scary situation is this new stress test, and the amount of disposable funds to the private lenders and the credit unions and whatnot. That's going to dry up real quick, real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really see the credit in terms of what's available being rolled back inwards because people are just overspending, over leveraged, and we're starting to see it with the HELOCs and the home equity lines of credit, and a lot of
By law, yes, they can. I used to be a regional manager for a big lending institution, and I saw them call in someone's debt if they had to. And it is very, very common. It's not a common practice. It's very kind of almost unheard of, but they can call in debt when they want it. And that's a big problem. The problem is a lot of people, like I've been saying for the longest time, have been riding off this equity line coattails thinking that housing is just going to keep going up and using their house as an ATM machine. And this is a huge problem because now you're getting this. You know what you're getting now? Oh, I wasn't told housing was going to stop going up. I wasn't told. No one told me this. Oh.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, long story made short, it was easier to go out and borrow money than it was to actually make it the good old-fashioned way. And a lot of people are, the tide's, rolling out, and now it's rolling back in, and we're about to see, how many people were swimming with no clothes on, as I like to say.
Well, the thing is, Steve, in all fairness, who wants to pay for something that's worth less than what they bought it for?
Absolutely. A lot of people acquired property, and when the new government regulations came in, whether it be a foreign buyer's tax or now, the stress test or whatnot, a lot of people, literally, were forced to close on it to avoid litigation.
Mm-hmm.
Closed on a property. For all intents, they're going to be they're going to be the kiss of death. I know of two people that actually went to go and renew their mortgage, and obviously had to stay with the same lender. And on two separate occasions, they went ahead and said, "Yeah, okay, we'll keep the mortgage, not an issue. However, your line of credit here, what are we going to do with it?" One guy says, "Well, I'd like a little bit more. I have some equity." And, of course, he's immediately stress tested on that demand loan, as I call it.
Right.
The results that came back was that it's like, "Hey, John, sorry to tell you, we got to roll back your loan because you can't possibly qualify this or this HELOC that you currently have, although it's not maxed, out in its entirety. It's very close to it. And, yeah, you've been making your regular payments, but you actually can't qualify under these new rules and regulations.
Right.
Subsequently, we're only going to X amount of dollars, and now we're going to give you, I think, 4 or 6 months to come up with the rest of the money back to the bank." So they didn't demand and call that loan in its entirety. However, they did call a portion of it, and he's scrambling now because if he can't do that, what will end up happening is the bank has a right to secure their position, and make no mistake, that HELOC was in actual fact secured underneath the equity in that home.
It's amazing. It's incredible what's happening. I have a feeling that we're seeing the early signs of what's happening. I heard a lot of people are walking away from their down payments on condos. So people put down on pre-built condos, and they're just walking away. They don't want it no more. And I heard that's happening a lot. People walking away from pre-builts. Have you heard about that, Steve?
I haven't heard that necessarily in Toronto. I've heard that, elsewhere. In Toronto right now, let's face it, if you own a condo, or, you have some sort of a deal on the table where you put in your 3, 4, 5 deposits on a pre-construction.
Mm-hmm.
In actual fact, if you can close on that deal, it's probably beneficial. And the reason why it's beneficial is because that's all that people can afford. Or I shouldn't say afford, qualify for.
Right.
Boxes in the skies, or the semis, or the townhouses. The detached market in the Greater Toronto area, including the 905, is, going to be, undergo quite a bit of correction, in my opinion, because a house is only worth what someone can qualify for.
Exactly.
So,
could qualify for. Exactly.
So these boxes in the sky, as I call them, these condos,
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to be in demand, because everybody needs a roof over their head.
That's correct.
And if somebody can only afford, and
Exactly.
You've lost 10 to 15% of all buyers in the market because of these stress tests. So they're pushed out, and now they're into the rental market. But it's a trickle-down effect, if you will. So whoever could afford a detached can now only afford a semi or a townhouse, and then it keeps going down.
Right, you get moved down the list. But it's like if everyone was just to take one step back and look at what's happening and actually start connecting the dots and take a bigger picture of look what's like, actually really focus and look outside the box for just no one's doing that anymore. It's phenomenal.
No, they're not.
It's phenomenal. The amount of this is just a little blip of what's going to happen in the next. That's why I keep telling everyone after first quarter, when the numbers are released by StatsCan or by Better Dwelling or whoever wants to release numbers, proper numbers, do not believe real estate agents. I'm talking about when somebody could release proper numbers after Q1, you're going to see a huge incline of supply on the market and no one buying because no one could afford it. And that's been the problem. It's been an affordability issue for the last 8 years in Vancouver. It's been an affordability issue for 15 years in Australia. And it's been an affordability issue for 1.5 to 2 years in Toronto.
Absolutely. And as you see these people that are holding these, these assets, housing in terms of an asset class, as it goes into this mean reversion period with respect to, the housing as an asset class correcting, people are going to try to hold on tight and say, no, I'm not selling for, that price. I'm only selling for, what I could have got in, February, March of 2017, before, things came to fruition with government intervention. But, you touched on something in terms of organized real estate. Organized real estate will always continue to pump the market up with usually false, unreliable data. I've yet to see someone actually have the guts and the glory to challenge TREB or organized real estate's numbers, because quite frankly, them putting out those numbers, who knows if they're even true? In an actual,
they're not true.
They're
not true. Real estate numbers in comparison to StatsCan lies a lot too. There's really nobody that goes out there and gets the real numbers. The only people that get it is those guys from Zero Hedge, Tyler Durden, and Better Dwelling are the only two outfits that I know of that actually go out and... Do you remember that article I read 2 weeks ago, Steve? That foreign ownership in Vancouver is $40 billion, and in Toronto it's like $28 billion?
Yeah.
That was crazy because a lot of people said, oh, it's only 5% of the markets, but no, it's not. It's been a lie the whole time. We've been lied to. What's new? We've been lied to forever. We've been lied to since the time of Moses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so,
that number of 5% can't possibly be accurate. There's too many loopholes of foreigners coming in, putting properties in their wife's name, their kid's name as a student, or private corporations, so on and so forth. That number is basically just to suggest that the foreign buyer tax wasn't warranted. It's not a big, a big playing factor. However, if you peel back the layers, 5%. Let's say 5% of all real estate transactions, whether it be in Toronto or Vancouver, are from foreign buyers.
Okay.
I would say, Mike, let's say, 95% of them are all cash?
I would say 80%.
Okay, let's say 80% are all cash.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and then you have Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, they all show up to buy a house. And then all of a sudden, a foreign buyer shows up. Well, those two Canadians are bringing a knife to a gunfight because they can't possibly, overpay for that house. One, the bank
Over asking, yeah.
Yeah, or the comps within the neighborhood. So, and you know, let's say that's happening 5% of the time. With organized real estate coming in and you know, oh, that's a new record in Merrick, or that's a new record in Vancouver proper, or, you know, the GTA area. What they're doing is they're just lining their pockets for a larger sale, and quite frankly, that just makes me sick, because you know, they're just getting bigger commissions. So
of course,
5% of the time, a foreign buyer walks in and overpays for a property on that particular street or that area, it sets a new record. Organized real estate then goes in a week later to list another property and says, "Hey, this house down the street just sold for, you know, $100,000 over asking. You know what? We're going to list it at, you know, this new sales record." And that's what ended up happening. Things just, this irrational exuberance just took off like a bat out of hell.
Okay, Steve, I got something I want to say to you. There's this article I read here it was about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I have it up right now. Are you ready for this? Farm in Richmond, British Columbia sells for more than 100 times its assessed value.
Really?
This is the article from CBC News. I read this article. And the property was assessed at $85,000, and it sold for $9.2 million. And this was in November 28, 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Incredible.
I read this a few weeks back on the Trends in the Housing Market show. And they were talking about how basically they want to rezone the farm. And then not only that, we're going to start losing a bit of agriculture because we got that temperate climate in that area. And once we stop feeding ourselves from those areas, we're going to have to start importing more food. And more problems get created. It's all due to housing. You know, this housing problem has basically held back everybody's lives, held back their lives from getting married, held back from having kids, expanding kids. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading this world debt thing here, right? Okay. It's telling me, this is the world debt clock. Canada's $1.5 trillion in debt. It says we have a population of $36 million. 36 million people. Where are these 36 million people? I don't see us having 36 million people in Canada.
Well, I don't know that number off the top of my head, but it's definitely a number that I should know. And in fact, I am going to look it up. But I get what you're saying. It's a recipe for disaster.
Oh yeah, because every Canadian, let's say 36 million, we're 1.5 trillion in debt. Everybody's indebted 40 large, or 45,000 per person. We're in a lot of trouble, and things are headed away from the way they're supposed to be. And I don't know why this is being allowed to happen. And especially with the people, I have no idea what's going to happen, Steve, in Vancouver, because I'm lucky I'm not living in Vancouver anymore. I'm very lucky I'm not in that anymore. I'm very lucky I'm not there, because my rent was going to go up in my townhouse to $2,900 a month that I was renting.
But people have this misconception that high house prices or high rent prices are good for the economy. In actual fact, Steve Saretsky said it best, it actually impoverishes an economy.
It does, 1 trillion %. And that's the problem we're having right now. I don't know what to tell you, Steve, but things are not looking good, man. The housing market should have been, this stress test thing should have been in at the time of John A. Macdonald, or whenever the banking system came to Canada, or whenever it was introduced, or whenever they put this organized mafia in, they should have had this stress test to protect the customers. Now you have these lenders fudging numbers, fudging incomes, and giving products to customers they either don't qualify for, or they're going to end up losing big time, and they know they're going to be losing. That's the funny part. And you know what the funny part is? They have underwriters, people that underwrite these deals, because it's not the lender that approves, it's the underwriter. And these underwriters are very intelligent. They know when a deal is going to fail in 6 months or a year. They know it's going to fall apart. But why did they let it go through? And that's the problem.
That's a huge concern right now. I know Bank of Montreal and a couple other chartered banks have packaged up their loans and then sold them as mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah, the U.S. did that in 2006.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how many of those loans are actual shitty loans. Laurentian Bank just got caught, and their now revised number was close to $500 million in fudged documents or bad. Well, I shouldn't say bad mortgages. A mortgage isn't bad until the actual person stops paying for it. But incomes weren't verified, so on and so forth. Now, Laurentian Bank is a small, in the grand scheme of things, a small bank out of Montreal. It's the CEO's got egg all over his face.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad. And 100 years ago, this would have been high treason. You know what I'm saying? Because you're playing with people's lives, right? And I don't know why they're just headed the way they are. And I've been begging people to listen to me for the last 5 years about this housing crisis. It's beyond. So can I ask you a question, Steve? What is...
Go ahead.
In Toronto, Ontario, in the area you live in, the Greater Toronto 416-905 area,
yep.
What is the relative detached house price should be for the typical Canadian proper to afford?
In the Greater Toronto area and 905, standard 24 to 2,800 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably, in the 416 area code, it's such a big area code. I would say it realistically should be between, I would say about 6 and 800 grand tops. And that's in, a healthy market, so on and so forth. But we're seeing that, double, if not 3 times the amount.
Okay. So you're thinking 6 to 800 large.
In the 416 area code, 6 to 800,000 for a detached house. I know some people would laugh at me, but the cost of build comes to mind. And
cost of build is 30 grand in lumber.
Well, yeah, but if you go per square foot, you can do something fairly nice for about 2.25, 2.5 per square foot. So 225, 250 square foot.
Yeah.
And if you do the math, so on and so forth, there's no way that any builder or organized real estate can say that the rest of the bulk of the price is based on land value. There's no land. Well, you know what? Land doesn't cost that much.
Mm-hmm.
We're still seeing, Young and Finch, Young and Shepherd, in North York, also, in the Avenue Road and Lawrence area, these bungalows, and they're complete teardowns.
Okay.
People are still trying to get 1.3, 1.4, up to 1.6.
That's nuts. Okay, can I tell you, Steve, what I think? And I said this a few days ago, actually. The typical Canadian proper living in the BC area, a lot of people usually tear me down or chew me out in the comment section because the average house, you see, you're saying 6 to 800 large for a house. That's fine. But in all fairness, what the average Canadian right now in those two metropolis cities could afford is about $400,000 realistically if rates go up to 6%. If rates go up to 6%, do you know what's going to happen? On $100,000, you're looking at about $8,000 to $9,000 a year in finance charges for $100,000.
Yeah, in terms of what it costs to borrow that 100K.
Okay, 200 large, you're looking at about anywhere from 12 to 16,000 depending on your institution. 300 large, you're looking into the low 20s, very low 20s, high teens. 400 large, you're looking, let's say 800 large, you're looking at about 65 to 75,000 a year in finance charges.
Yeah.
If rates go up to 5 or 6, go up to 6%. So realistically, Steve, the average person, I don't know if people are making hundreds of millions of dollars in Toronto, but I know that the average person making $90,000 a year could afford to buy a house as high as about 4 to 450. Anything above that at 5%, if it's at 0.5, it's different, right? And that's what we had forever. We had this bullcrap stimulus going on, right? Now the party's over. Rates go back to 5 points, 6 points. The finance charges are through the roof. And the cost of living goes up. Standard of living goes down because people don't live like they used to. And then reality kicks in for a lot of people.
Inevitably, house prices will be coming down. Whether they come down to that $450,000 or $400,000 mark, I'm sure, condos will have to be readjusted, or the semis or the townhouses will be adjusted to reflect that because, no ticky, no laundry. If the bank says no, it's no. And a lot of people are about to see their paper wealth evaporate. It's plain and simple. Houses aren't worth, like you said, what they actually are worth right now.
They can't. What they physically can't be, because remember at the beginning of our conversation, it's what people could qualify for.
That's right.
So, but if you take a step back, if the average person is making 60 large, 70 large a year gross, take off your taxes, you're left with 45,000, and then an $800,000 mortgage is going to cost you about 66 to 75,000 in finance charges per year. How do you make it? How do you even make ends meet?
Well, that's it. And I think, even if we were to factor in double income, it would probably make things a little bit easier. But yes, I get what you're saying. It's absolutely insane. People don't have the money. I see it every day. People are struggling. People are renting furnaces and air conditioners, at just another monthly payment of $500-600 a month. For 10, 15 years. You can do the math. It doesn't cost that amount of money to buy those two main chattels required to run a home outright.
Exactly. You know who's cooked right now? Who's cooked really bad?
Tell me.
The people in the UK. A lot of people in the UK fell for those 100% loan to value, 0% down mortgages.
Yeah, and
that was about 4 years ago.
And in the UK, these flats and stuff, they actually get just recycled throughout the family.
Mm-hmm.
They truly never actually end up paying off the mortgages. They just assume them when the great uncle dies or somewhere along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're done with it, and then the bleeding just continues. But speaking of bleeding, we're seeing a lot of developers, or I should say builders, that bought these, tear downs, bungalows,
Mm-hmm.
certain areas in the GTA for, outrageous money, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4,
Mm-hmm.
and then subsequently erected these large homes on it, on these big lots, 50, 60 wide by, 140, 160 deep.
Right.
And, they're into it for, $1.4 million or $1.3 million, and then they go ahead and they basically, they stick another $1.1 million, $1.2 million into it. So that basically brings the price of poker up to, 2.5, 2.6. You throw HST on it and realtor fees and everything else. They're trying to list these homes
Mm-hmm.
for $3 million, $3.3 million, and they're not getting them. They're not getting that price. No one's coming to look at it. The open houses are just non-existent. And I actually had a conversation probably let this go at my cost or just below, and take the write-off and just be done with it, because I'm bleeding, and I'm bleeding bad.
That's interesting story. It's very sad. But like I said, Steve, we're just connecting the dots right now, and we're gonna get the big picture. Things are gonna happen. Things are gonna come to fruition, or whatever you say, either way you say it. But I'm just saying, things are gonna start coming to light, and you're gonna have a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, I didn't know. I wasn't told. Oh, someone should have told me about this." And you know what it is? It's your lending institution is the one that should have told you. The lending institution is at blame because they're the ones that change where the money changes hands. And they're the ones that are supposed to educate the customers. They're the ones that are supposed to tell the customers what is going on when they're taking on this amount of debt. You have to, the most important thing you will buy in your lifetime, or the most expensive thing you'll ever buy in your life, is your house. And then people are playing games with it like it's Monopoly. And this is where things are going wrong.
Absolutely, and I can't stress it enough. People really, really, truly need to stop listening to organized real estate. I've caught far too many real estate agents giving unsolicited advice from a financial aspect of things that they're not qualified to do so, nor legally able to do so.
Yep.
And actually lose their license for doing that. But I mean, I watch, CP24, for your listeners that don't know what that is. That's a rather large local station.
Yeah, City Pulse 24, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they have a segment called Hot Property. And there's a person on there from organized real estate, a real estate agent. And he's repeatedly said, people, do not put your houses on the market. Flood the market, you're going to shoot yourselves in the foot.
That's right.
He's right to a certain degree. However, everything's rainbows and unicorns, business as usual. Housing is not going to come down. Everything's going to be okay. Stress testing or not, rates going up, it's not a big deal. Just putting on this facade and continuing to pump up the market. And people actually believe this guy because he's on a talk show through a credible station, but people can't peel back the layers and realize he's paying to be on that show.
But you don't want to, just because NBC or City Pulse or Canadian, just because they say something, it doesn't mean it's true, right? And that's the problem. And that's the problem. People think whatever they hear or see on these mainstream networks, they actually think it's true. You know what I'm saying? I was asked to go on one of those networks. I'm not going to mention their name. They asked me to come on and talk about the housing crisis and how I made it into a hobby and made a channel about it and found an audience for it. So they said, but you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, you can't talk about foreign investing, you can't talk about... I'm like, I'm not coming on your show. Because if I can't talk about what's happening, what's the point of me being there?
Yeah, they're just going to put a muzzle on you.
For what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we can't talk like civilized human beings about what's happening in our housing crisis, and we have to put a muzzle on it, something's wrong. Something's really wrong.
Yeah, I was on BNN, I think it was a couple days ago, and I saw a cute, pretty, leggy blonde from Casa. I don't know what her name is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying. That sounds really bad, but anyway.
I don't watch CNN. That's Counterfeit News Network.
No. BNN, as in Business News Network.
Oh, but those guys are always paid. They always get props for bringing people on to help, and you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, she came on, and she's from CASA, and she's CEO or some director of whatever. And she actually came on, and they asked her thoughts on the interest rate in terms of so it would have been Friday when RBC went and raised their 5-year fixed rate, and then CIBC and TD followed suit.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, 14 basis points or 15 basis points isn't much, and 25 basis point increase is probably going to happen on the 17th. Canada in terms of the overnight lending rate. Rates are still cheap. listening to it, tune it out for a minute and actually realize what's going on.
Like I said, people need to take a step back and do their own research.
Exactly. There are certain individuals. I like the guy from Rate Hub.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty liberal and honest. He actually described it as the stress testing being a tsunami. People don't realize what this stress test is actually going to do.
Well, it's gonna cut 70% of people out from buying. It's gonna be harder to sell. People are gonna be throwing properties on the market because they're gonna want to unload, and it's gonna be a poop show.
Absolutely, it is going to be a poop show, as you call it. But organized real estate won't. They'll say it'll cut 15 to 17%. Other people will say 20. In terms of one's ability to qualify and borrow, I think that number is actually being suppressed, not to induce mass panic into the market.
Steve, we made a lot more money back in 1984 than we did today.
Yeah, because what?
You know why? Because a guy bagging groceries in a grocery store could afford a mortgage and buy a house and pay off his house in 5-6 years.
Absolutely.
So a guy bagging groceries today can't even afford to eat.
Yeah, at McDonald's.
Yep, and that's the problem. And that's a big problem we're facing. Because Canada 20, 30 years ago, all you needed to do was work and you'd have everything. Now, all you need to do is work just to eat. And it's getting really bad. It's getting hectic. And I just don't know. I just really hope I'm wrong about a lot of this stuff. I really hope I'm wrong. Because I do want to see people succeed. I do want to see people do well in life. I want to see, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I predict that we're not just going to see something in the not too distant future. A lot of people don't really realize what's going to happen in about 10 years from now or less when the demographic cliff gets factored in. And, all the people that are in their late 70s and early 80s now, as they start dying off, and, the economy has merely, it's contracted because people aren't having 3, 4, 5 kids anymore.
That's correct.
So there's too many people over the age of 70, not enough people, under it, so to speak, to replenish it. So what's actually going to happen is all these houses start to come up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids and their offspring are basically going to go ahead and start to sell all this, and you're going to see the market flooded with a whole bunch of inventory.
Yep. And don't forget the 38,000 new units coming up in Toronto in 2018?
Yeah, how about that?
Don't forget that, eh? Don't forget that. Add that to your pot and smoke it.
Yeah, and right now it's people aren't seeing that in the future. They who's going to buy all these properties? And they say, immigrants, coming into Canada are going to be able to afford this and afford that. You know what, Mike? If that was true, I would say fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, I would say, 80% of all those immigrants coming into Canada are not coming here with hundreds of thousands of dollars put down on real estate. They're coming here for a better life, to get ahead on what Trudeau says is the promised economy. I don't want to get political on you, but let's face it, they're not coming here to buy $1 million homes.
No, and it's and then you have the other side of the fence that are coming here to buy $1 million homes.
Yes, you do.
You do. You got a lot of people parking their money here, and do you remember that article I put up and I read it twice, 2 different times? Do you remember that article? I'm going to bring it up right now. This one's a tough one to digest. I wonder if you remember this one. I'm going to read you the title right now. This is from the CBC News, and it is from August 17, 2016. Canada wants more Chinese workers, students, and tourists, says Immigration Minister. So that's what the article says, and they're looking at... They've already bumped up the visas from China to Canada to 500,000, and they want to push it now to 800,000 per year.
Wow.
Yeah, the article's up right now if you're on your computers. People watching, people listening on audio can't see the screen, but that's the article there. It was posted on August 17, 2016 at 2:01 p.m. And it is from British Columbia, CBC News. Canada wants more Chinese workers, students, tourists, and says Immigration Minister. Okay, tourists, I get it. Students, no problem. But where are the jobs for the workers?
You there?
I'm right here. Where are the jobs for the workers, Steve?
Yeah, that's a good thing. I was actually just going to touch on that in terms of employment. Where are we going to start manufacturing back up? I mean, we don't have any manufacturing. That's all fall by the wayside. That's gone.
Yeah, because remember, we're green, right?
Yep, it's a difficult set of circumstances, and I don't know why they're letting this many people in. I don't want to sound like Trump, but I don't think we need this many, new Canadians coming in. And the fact that they don't even have to be able to speak English, that's another huge concern.
Since you brought that up, okay, let me look this one up. This one I read 2 months ago. Canada relaxes language immigration. We could bring up that article too. So maybe you could go back, Steve, and watch my show again, and you could see the article being pulled up. This one was posted December 28, 2017. Canadian citizenship applications surge after government relaxes language residency rules.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm just, everything that you're saying is already in the works as we speak. Underlying things are happening. News is picking it up. This article, this one here, where Canada wants more immigration from China, I think it has it's got 3,000 shares. It should have 40,000. People should be aware of this other one. Relaxes 10,000 shares. It should have 50,000. People should be aware of what's happening in their own country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the federal government really needs to take care of Canadians first and really give them the opportunity, in terms of gainful employment first. But this all actually can be reversed. I don't think Trudeau is going to get reelected, and if he does, I'd be very surprised. I know I'm not voting for him. He's really done some horrible things, and I'm not just talking about in his own life or the dirty tricks that he's done from the Aga Khan and all that other stuff. But I guess what I'm trying to say is this is done. This needs to stop. It needs to be reversed. Regrettably, the $14 an hour thing has to stay in terms of the minimum wage in Ontario. But the feds need to go in terms of Mr. Trudeau. There, he's made too many mistakes, and quite frankly, he's just screwed the whole country up, in my opinion.
Well, you know what, Steve? I was doing some basic mathematical equations, and I came up with a very interesting number. The average Canadian, with the price of housing, the cost of food, to live a lifestyle like in 1984, with the buying power that we had in 1984, needs to make $37.50 an hour to live like they did in 1984.
Wow.
That's what roughly the average person needs to make, roughly $40 an hour minimum wage to live, because of the price of housing, food, taxes, all that crap. You know what I'm saying? When you add it all up, it's a lot of money. And the average person, to live like they did in 1984, they need to make roughly $40 an hour.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. We're not even making half that.
Yeah, we're not even making half that. And then when you look at it, minimum wage in 1984, I think, was $3.25, if I'm not mistaken. But $3.25 buying power was incredible. Your buying power for $3.25 in 1984 was huge. You know, you could buy a dozen bananas for 10 cents, right? So you see where I'm going with this. Buying power has changed. Where people think $14 an hour. No, you should be getting $30 an hour. Like, I mean, realistically, if you want to live. Just like I was telling you before. Realistically, the average house should be $350 to $450, because the Canadian proper won't be able to afford more than that if he makes around $100,000. What about the people making $40,000 a year? How do they do it?
Well, they don't.
And that's the problem. Because, like I said, remember at the beginning of our conversation, a guy bagging groceries in 1984 will pay his house off in 5 years. And I'm being very, I'm being very conservative about it. 5 years he could pay off his house bagging groceries at the local food mart or local grocery store.
No.
But not anymore. Anyways.
Yep.
I'm going to let you go, Steve. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you. We've been on the phone for 46 minutes.
I just noticed that too. I'm glad I got a chance to connect with you, and maybe I'll phone in some other time when
for sure
have trends in the housing market.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. Call in any time. This is Open Lines, Rants and Lifestyle. Just talk about whatever's on your mind, and that was what was on your mind. There's nothing wrong about it. And try and call in on Wednesday. I'm going to try and go live at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try and go live Pacific time. You can call in and take a look at the articles I pulled up. Canadian citizenship relaxes language, and Canada wants more Chinese immigrants. So look at those. You know, I'm not picking on anybody. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was Portuguese immigrants. I'm Portuguese, right? Even if Canada said, we want more Portuguese, I'm like, well, for what? You know what I'm saying? So it's not picking on a culture. It's just, why is this happening, right? So
we need to take care of Canadians first, and you know, I get what you're saying. Hopefully, I brought up some good discussion points, and I added to your show. And it's truly a pleasure, Mike. I'll let you go, and you be well. Have a great night, and we'll talk real soon.
Thank you, brother. Good night.
Cheers.
So that was Steve the Plumber. He comments all the time on my show, all the time. And let's move on. Rants and Lifestyle, what's on your mind? Housing is on everyone's mind tonight. So let's keep going. What global debt load? So remember the last article I had open with all those clocks running for a long time? Well, this is it here. We have a global debt load of $291 trillion. These are dangerous times. I had to do the sign of the cross there because I don't know what to do when I see a global debt load of $291 trillion. Who owes this money to who? Somebody in the comment section, tell me what the hell's going on here. Scribes of my generation were programmed to keep numbers out of the first sentence of the works of journalism. Now that we are in the second sentence, I could clearly institute the international finance's latest tally, global debt of $291 trillion. I could bet anyone $100 that 200 trillion of that is towards military defense. I bet you anything you want. That 200 trillion of that is to military defense. Not to feed people, not to clothe people, not to house people, not to create jobs. And someone's commenting here. The dollar is dead. China owns most of North American debt. But remember, did you see how much debt China was in itself? China is going towards a catastrophe on its own. So the comment section is going wild. A lot of people joining me through the night here. It is, wow. It is 2 a.m. on the Eastern Seaboard. So if you're listening to me, watching me, I want to say thank you for tuning in. 291 trillion. For what? I mean, I think we need some foreign intervention. I think we need aliens to come to Earth. The return of Christ. Anything to come and intervene. Why is this happening? Someone's saying cryptocurrency is the future. We're going to look into that in a bit. America's debt load is hitting record and risky territory. Who isn't? Which country isn't? It says here, the average indebted household carries roughly $8,600 in outstanding credit card debt. You know what? $8,600 per household, it really isn't that bad. And if you're young, you could work and you could pay that off. You have your whole life to pay, you know what I'm saying? But $8,600, I don't see it. But yes, it becomes a growing problem. Let's move on. America's student loan debt crisis is worse than we thought. Guys, I don't know if you remember this. Look at this guy. Watch this. That guy's 55 large in debt, right? The guy behind him here is 184 large in student loan debt. And I think this is a lady standing here, 14 large, and this guy's 12 large in debt. Wow. We gotta do a whole show on student loan debt, because I need to know if getting that degree outweighs what you actually make in reality after paying back the loan with interest. I want to know if it's even worth it. Unless you open your own practice and work for yourself, right? Occupy Wall Street demonstrators participating in a street theater production, wearing signs around their neck representing their student loan debt during the protest against the rising national student debt in Union Square in New York. The U.S. financial crisis that resulted from raptured housing bubble is now 10 years old. The investor fretting over serially record-setting stock market and are searching their pockets for risk of various corners of the financial system. Wow. College borrowers. Wow, it's on the rise. This is nuts, people. The amount of people going into that. So, let's backtrack what I said. Is the cost of taking a loan with the interest rates you're paying worth it if you were just to work at McDonald's? Instead of losing 4 years of income that you could have potentially made, you could make manager at McDonald's 4 years later instead of getting your degree for 4 years, losing 4 years of work, getting a job at McDonald's, and then falling behind those 4 years, which you could have been already manager. I don't know if that makes any sense what I said, but that's what I want to know. You lose 4 years income getting a degree, and then if you get a doctorate and all that crap, it's even worse. Unless you get into something that's in high demand, right? I'm not an educated person. I don't know anything. But what I'm seeing right now is a lot of people fell for this whole better education will get you more money. I really beg to differ. Someone's commenting in the comments section. Yes, silver, Trinsic silver. Let me tell you a silver story, people. Let me tell you a silver story. Let's pretend my hand here is the amount of physical silver on the planet. Silver is a very not looked at precious metal because it's used in electronics a lot and it's used everywhere in good fiber optics or whatever. Silver is considered a junk metal. It's a precious metal, but it's not there. But this is how much silver we have on Earth. But silver is just as difficult to extract as gold. So what does this mean, this much silver? It means absolutely nothing. But when you take in the form of how much paper there is in silver that's out there, so you have these certificates that say you have a silver. I'll show you what a silver certificate looks like. I think JP Morgan, a lot of places give them out. Silver certificates. I'll show you what these things look like, guys. So, it's like this. So you get these certificates that show that you own X amount of silver. Here's the problem. We have this much silver on Earth and that much paper stacked up saying that this paper equals this much silver. You see where I'm going here? We have more paper out there. So let's say this is 10 ounces of silver on this one here. But we only have this much silver. So let's say the stack of papers are all 10 ounces of silver going right to the top. Stacked. And this much silver on Earth. How does that make it possible? How is this much silver, and silver is as cheap as it is? What is it, 18 bucks an ounce, 20 bucks an ounce? This much silver, that much paper. Think about it, people. There's more paper saying there's silver out there than there is actual physical silver. So what if these people want to take their silver certificates to the bank and say, I want my physical silver, and they don't get it? Well, there's not enough silver out there to give you your silver. That paper certifies you have that much silver, though. So I'm really scared about that. That's really scary. And that's one thing people need to understand. Back in the day, the United States had silver certificates that look like this. And then we had the silver doll, the 20. You see that 20? That's $20, silver dollars. Backed by silver back in the day. But after John F. Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, they were basically pulled off all those standards. The next president, Lyndon Baines John, whoever that guy was, basically pulled all those standards out of the United States, making their currency deemed fiat or fake. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people are commenting here. Let's move on. This one's concerning me. Are some Halton students dating to pay off student loans? Halton is a city outside of Milton. It's like, I think it's in Ontario. It's in Ontario. It's outside of Toronto, obviously, like 40 minutes outside. And women are dating sugar daddies to pay off their student loans. You're supposed to be educated. Yes, someone's commenting in the comment section. Dating to pay off student loans is basically prostitution. And that's what it is, people. And it's sad. Would you trade sex or romance for a break on your substantial student loans? It appears that a good chunk of Ontario University students will. According to a recent report released Seeking Arrangement, a popular dating site that pairs young sugar babies with wealthier and often older sugar daddies and sugar mamas. A huge number of sugar babies are Ontario's university students. I'm going to drink some water here and let you guys digest that. Someone's asking me, why is that sad? It is. It's horrifying. You know, nearly 250,000 students in Canada are now registered on the world's largest sugar daddy dating site. 250,000. 250,000. I mean, does Canada even have 250,000 people in school? Like, seriously? Like, in university, I mean? Look at that. York University. Dalhousie University. McCowan University. University of Saskatchewan. Brock University. University of Toronto. Ryerson. Oh, that's scary, man. It's... Okay, there's a comment section. There's a comment section to this article. Someone comments here, is that not just called prostitution? And then somebody else comments, what will it profit a man that he shall gain the whole earth but lose his own soul? Prostitutes for education. Maybe if they stop hiding in school, they wouldn't be so far out of debt. That's true. They wouldn't be so far in debt, sorry. Why advertise this for them? Shame on you. Wow, this is crazy, people. It's like, you know, this is somebody's daughter. This is somebody's aunt. This is somebody's sister. You know what I'm saying? So someone's commenting here, no debt here. I'm debt free too. I'm debt free here. I'm debt free. I'm debt free myself, 100%. But yeah, well, because you know what? I didn't buy in the city. I left the city. I left the big metropolis. I live in a small town. You know why? Because that's what I could buy, and that's what I want to settle with. And I want to raise my kids in a small town. I could go on for 5 hours why I don't live in a big city. Yeah, exactly. Someone just commented, what happened to working and saving money before going to school? Hey, guys, especially the young people listening to this, there used to be a time where you would graduate from high school and you'd get a summer job. And that summer job that you make in 2 months would afford to pay for your rent, food, and your university tuition all the way till the next summer. Back in the day, yes. And then by the time next summer would hit, you'd go back to work, you'd pay your car, you know, you'd have a car, and you probably have your apartment and everything, and you would make enough money, go back to school for another year. You see what I'm saying? That's how it was back in the day. Now people are taking these student loans, getting these mortgages, but no house. They don't get the house. They got a mortgage, but no house. Good. Someone says, I closed my bank account and handed in the credit cards at the start of the year. Good for you. When I drive to the city, I get edgy. I hate it. Yeah. It's the hatred. It's the hatred everybody has. I try employing young adults, but they are so lazy and just look at their phones. Useless. So this is the comment section, people. Don't forget to tune into my comment section. Let's continue here. So, are some Halton students dating to pay off student loans? This is, yeah, I'm going to move on to this. Student loan shock how 50,000 graduates are charged plenty of rates, add million to their loans. So what's happening is people are getting fines and extra interest rate hikes because they're falling behind on their student loans. So I want to ask you guys a question. You work, I mean, you do your thing, right? You go to school. You want to be a lawyer. You want to study law. You want to do good for the community. Okay, fine. But the problem is, in the United States, I'm thinking there's 20 to 30,000 lawyers graduating every single year. Is the United States in need of 20, 30,000 lawyers per year? That's the question. So Jason saying, I'm a bricklayer. I didn't even need to go to high school. Wasted 4 years. Yeah, I wasted 4 years in high school too. The only thing that I think I have nothing that applies to what I learned in high school because I still can't read. I'm still, pretty much the same when I went in and came out. So there was no difference. So that's just my point of view. Luckily, the teachers were honest with me. And they said, Mike, you're no good. You can't go to college. You're going to waste money in college. They even told me, get a job in a factory moving boxes around all day. So I had to find my thing. I've owned all my own companies. I've never been bankrupt. I've always been true to whatever I'm doing. I always work hard to make my, you know what I'm saying? So Jeremy McGuire says 30K in debt and I'm a stripper. Someone else is commenting, in Ontario anyway, 8 years of school, waste of time. Yeah, but here's the thing. You're never going to learn in school what you need to know when you get out of school. They never teach you in school what you need to know when you get out. They let you regurgitate books and regurgitate what books say. I don't think that helps you on the street. And I'm not talking about street like the hood. I'm talking about hitting the ground, hitting the pavement with your toes, and running to every opportunity you could find. And I think people aren't running after those opportunities. They're hoping that they come to them. Let's move on. I want to know what you guys think about this. Facebook to emphasize friends, not news, in series of changes. I have my own Facebook news page that I started. I'm kind of like a little Matt Drudge. And I have my own news that matters. I'll show you this to you guys here. This is my news that matters. So I speak Portuguese, and what I did was I unified all the Portuguese-speaking countries right here. You can see them all. And I started my own news thing. And I did my own documentaries, which are here. There's my little blurbs I put up. This is a really good blurb. This one's been circulated around Africa a lot. It says, Africa never had a real democracy because it's easier to manipulate a corrupt country. And that's one of my little things there, because Portuguese is my primary language. But anyways, this is my news page, okay? And I got 97,558 people following me on this. 97,000. I've unified, these are my documentaries that I've made myself. And this is my news. See, my news published every couple hours. There's a couple of articles put up from all the Portuguese-speaking countries. It's got 63 reviews, 4.5 stars. And it's really good. A lot of people look what's happening in Brazil and Angola. Look what's happening in Mozambique. Look what's happening, informing people on what's happening in the umbrella. Now, Facebook is going into this and saying that they do not want to publicize news anymore, or they don't want news to be a primary thing. And I want to know what people think, about this, because I think there's going to be something going to be rival Facebook in time. In time, there was, I don't know if you guys remember that other one, what's that other one called? MySpace. There was MySpace. And everyone would meet on there and kind of share their what's going on. And then Facebook took over. I don't know what's going to be next. So I really worked hard to build this page. I got 97,000 people following this. I reach on average 26,000 people per week. 26 to 200,000 people a week, sorry. Through my news page that I've done. And I collect articles from all over the Portuguese-speaking world, and I post it here. And now Facebook wants to basically stop that. You know what I'm saying? Now, they can't verify my page over here. This is my fan page. I've had several of my documentaries get sent to the African film festivals several years in a row. These are my documentaries. This is my fan page. Okay, I worked hard to build this platform. They can't verify my page. I am a public figure. I have 120,000 people following me on that fan page. And I reach anywhere from 20 to 30,000 people a week. Look, I put up a picture. It has 5,100 likes on it. And it has several hundred comments. I put up a few jokes. You know, I just talk semi-political about stuff. You know what I'm saying? Happy New Year, you know, simple things, you know. And I worked hard to build this, guys. This wasn't an overnight, it's not it's not a thing I did overnight. And they're pretty much, they don't want to verify me, which is fine, because apparently I'm not Mike Martins. And I really hope that they could look at this and say, you know what, this guy really worked hard to build this platform. I chose Facebook for this platform. And now this is coming up and saying, I read the article already, and they're basically saying they want to make it a more family and friends thing. Because they're complaining about misleading news. You know, it's got 2 billion users, and you know, people, I don't know, someone's commenting here. Facebook has moved into the realm of social control and propaganda and idea suppression, for better or worse. Yeah, see, a lot of people saying most social platforms are kowtowing to feminist ideology. Sorry. Mine isn't. Mine is more, Africa's this because of this. Stop destabilizing our countries. Blah, blah, blah. You should see some of my documentaries if you speak Portuguese, please. I get out there and talk about the root problem and what's happening and why Africa has every mineral on Earth and it's still one of the poorest continents on the planet. You know? And I'm really upset that, wow, look, I put a family in my photo. I got 2,000 likes on that. I'm so humble. I'm so happy, that I've reached so many people. People are telling me that in the universities they're talking about, they're debating my points of views in those universities and bringing up my discussions and stuff. And I don't know, I'm really heartbroken that platform is changing, and it really hurts me that I can't reach my people. You know what I'm saying? So that's that for that. I just think some college grad that's got a lot of time on his hands is gonna sit back and create a new algorithm and create a new social media platform, and then it's gonna be sold out to the big dogs. You know what I'm saying? It's sold out to the big dogs. Someone's asking me, what country in Africa is your heritage? I was supposed to be born in Mozambique, Portuguese Africa, till it was destabilized, like Libya, till it was destabilized. It was a great country to live in before it was destabilized. Angola too, Portuguese Africa, and Guinea-Bissau. My dad lived in all 3 of those countries, and we were setting up businesses, hotels, restaurants. I still have family that do own restaurants and hotels there today. But it's not what it was, When the country got destabilized because they were getting too strong, and the infrastructure and the buildings and the beautiful airports and highways and all the infrastructure and the beautiful planetariums they built there and malls and schools. Why do you think Portuguese Africa speaks actual Portuguese and not some dialect? It's because the Portuguese invested in education, religion, sciences, whatever. But anyways, let's move on. People joining me through the night, I want to thank you. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning on the eastern seaboard, and it's midday in Australia. Let's move on. Goodbye, Facebook. Let's see what we got here. News. Bitcoin. I got a Bitcoin article I want to read to you guys. This one's actually really good. This is really good. Whistleblower details big banks plan to prohibit employees owning Bitcoin. Everyone's saying good night. Good night to everyone that's leaving the show. And for those people that are joining me through the night, I really appreciate it. I'm going to do once a week a through the night show. My store is closed on Sundays and Mondays, so I can sleep in tomorrow. And I got a bunch of stuff to mail out that I sold on eBay. And that's one thing I got to do tomorrow, but that's all I have to do tomorrow. That's all I have to do, is just go mail some things out and then spend some time with the family. But anyways, Someone's commenting, my parents are from the Azores. Yeah, I'm from San Miguel. Whoever's commented, Jason there, commented, my parents are from the Azores. Yeah, those are archipelago islands off the coast of Africa that speak Portuguese, that are part of Portugal still. And maybe I might retire there. You know, if I want to, if where I'm living starts getting out of hand, I might retire there permanently. So let's go here. Whistleblower details big banks plan to prohibit employees from owning. Why can't employees own Bitcoin? Why? Could somebody, Walking Journeys here, why can't employees that work at banks own Bitcoin? Why? What, does it mean that your status changes if you own Bitcoin? Does it mean you're unlawful? Does it mean you're a traitor if you own Bitcoin? Oh my God, someone's calling in. Good morning.
Good morning, Mike.
Oh my God, it's the Walking Journey. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing really good, Mike. I just couldn't resist, and I decided to call in, man.
So how are things? I saw a video you made earlier on the drive home with Chase Bank. Do you want to fill us in what happened with Chase Bank?
No, it's not that. I wasn't trying to pick on Chase directly. I hate all the big banks because they have robbed this country blind, including many other countries like Greece. Especially what they did with Greece, J.P. Morgan Chase, with the coup over there. That's what really pisses me off.
Bankrupt the country and buy up the land for chump change.
And then they ousted out the elected president with the military.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought a bank where you just deposit your pennies and dimes could have so much power?
Exactly. So can I ask? Let me ask you: is this against the American Constitution? I'm going to ask you this thing. I'm reading this article right now, and it's a very interesting one. Big banks, because we're on the topic of big banks. Big banks plan to prohibit employees from owning Bitcoin.
Huh? Are you serious?
The article's right in front of me.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. I see a Bitcoin. That's really sad, man.
So how does this goes 1 trillion% against the Constitution, doesn't it?
Well, I guess we got to buy Bitcoin, man, because you know how this... I'll give you an example, Mike, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've heard of the Big Berkey water purifier, right?
Yes.
Did you know that it's illegal? The government says it's bad for your health to own a Big Berkey?
No, but a big Berkey could filter out small particles and fluoride out of the water.
Yeah, but according to the federal government, and it's outlawed, it's illegal to own a Big Berkey in California, for example.
Federal government. Dude, they're telling you that fluoride's good for you.
So that must mean that Bitcoin is good for you, but I don't know. I'm kind of skeptical on this whole, what do you call it, digital currency, man, because I don't know, man. It's just like, why do I have to give you my money to own a bunch of tokens, you know?
Well, it's cyber tokens, right? And it's money that basically exists in cyberspace, right?
Well, let me ask you something, Mike, because I don't know much about it. I'm kind of ignorant on the subject. Where can I use my Bitcoins? Can I buy groceries with them?
You have to convert your Bitcoin back to cash, but there are places that have Bitcoin ATMs, and there are places that you take your Bitcoin, your smartphone like this, and you put it in front of the thing. It scans your Bitcoin and it takes out your money, just like you do with your tap on your debit card or your Visa.
Well, I love your show, Mike, and my only advice to everybody is you got to own assets that don't depreciate, or they might appreciate a little bit, like land, guns,
Yep.
food and storage. Because if you got food, storage, and a way to get clean water to you, if like worst case scenario, everything goes down the toilet, then you're good, right? And have a couple, always keep a new car at home and use an older one just to go to work, and don't be in debt.
Yeah, picking up debt is horrible. People don't understand the old-fashioned way of doing things. People are forgetting that. People are forgetting how layaway used to work. People are buying engagement rings on credit cards. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, man.
Let me ask you something, Mike.
Go ahead.
I've been noticing a lot of hostility when I go buy like an appliance. I went to Best Buy last week, and I bought a stove or a range. Here they call them a range.
Yeah, stove range, yeah.
And last time I bought a washing machine, a digital washing machine.
Yep.
And the people keep insisting, are you going to put it on the credit card? How are you going to finance it? Sir, you're only going to pay $20 a month. I go, ma'am, I'm paying cash. As soon as you say cash, it's like they get really mad and upset.
Yeah, because I think those places get bonuses if they finance it, because then they sign you up for this crap and you got to pay this and pay that, and you end up paying 3 times more for the friggin' range.
So I don't know. You guys can tell me, oh, I bought $5,000 in Bitcoin, but at the same time you're telling me you owe $200,000 on a mortgage, you have 3 car payments. I'm sorry. You should have paid off your vehicles first and then thought Bitcoin.
Exactly. Because once you bring your total debt service down and you owe less, you have more disposable income, right?
Yes, sir.
And that equals...
Everybody pay off your debts first. And another great asset and blessing to have is children. Because your children are going to take care of you.
Yep, children.
Let's say there's no Social Security in the future and it goes bankrupt and it's gone. If you have your children, they'll take care of you and protect you from government intrusion in case you're dying on the bed or something.
Yeah, that's why I got my daughter, my son, And
beautiful family. You got a beautiful family.
Yeah, thanks, man. But yeah,
it looks like you.
Well, I hope they look like me.
Same here, man.
So, tell us, Anthony, how many acres do you own?
3, sir.
3 acres. How much did you pay for your 3 acres of land in Texas?
$21,000 in 2014, though.
21 large.
And my neighbor just bought the property, 2 properties over. He got it they already had a trailer on it, bedroom trailer, but it was a fixer-upper, though, honestly. He showed me around. He's done a lot of repairs. He got it for $50,000, 2.5 acres with an abandoned trailer, though. But he's fixing it up, though, really beautiful. Nice,
good to hear. So there's places where things are still affordable and everyone's down to earth, because that kind of land where I live would cost you an incredible amount of money. You have to finance your left and right arm.
My wife's friend just bought a house for $20,000 here in Texas.
I believe they bought a house for $20,000 because that's...
Never mind. Thank you for embarrassing me, Flo.
What's that?
Yeah, my wife's friend just bought a house for $25,000.
25 large. Yeah, I believe it. It's because that's what the house is worth. 25 large. I believe it.
But they have to fix it up, though. It's in a really small town named Willis, Texas.
It's in Willis, Texas?
Area.
But I believe it. There's dreams out there. You got to get out and find them. That's the problem.
I personally wouldn't live there, but it's okay.
Okay, look. Let me ask you something. If I went to move there, would you move there too?
What, to Willis, Texas?
Yeah, if I was there.
It would have to be on the west side, but the property taxes are higher because there's high-end people to live over there. It would have to be on that side. Because I know my mom bought a house not too long ago. I think she claims she paid 60.
60 large?
Yeah, but it's in the subdivision, though. That's the only thing I don't like. Oh, she got it for 30 foot?
Oh, someone's commenting. Let me read the comment section here. Hold on. Never had one, but I had a hydro scammer come by. Oh, they're talking about those people. Never had a hydro scammer come by. And then someone said, the last hydro scammer that came here, I almost got into a fight with. Guy was hitting on my wife right in front of me. Wow.
What's a hydro scammer?
Well, people that come in and say, hi, I'm from the hydro company. I'm going to give you this and this and sign this credit. Give me your credit card and God bless America, you know?
It has something to do with water, right?
Hydro is electricity, and yeah, it depends. Here, hydro is like electricity.
Yeah, it's just really sad what they're doing with the water, man. The governments want to charge like $500 a month for water. That's what people are paying out there in California when I used to live there. the Los Angeles Department of Water was charging the average water bill was like $500 a month.
500 pesos or dollars?
Dollars, man.
For water?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Per month?
Everybody in Los Angeles County,
LA County, yeah.
or even Southern California, everybody has a gym membership. Everyone, even a senior citizen. Why? Not because they go to the gym. What they do is they go to the gym just to take a shower.
Wow. Wow. People get a gym membership to go to the gym and take a shower because the cost of water in LA County is on average $500 a month.
Look it up online how the...
Oh, I believe you. I don't have to look anything up. I believe you 1,000,000%. You live there, you know. I believe you. I don't have to look nothing up.
They're getting raises every 3 months. They make like $50 an hour, the employees.
Holy smokes. Oh, I heard about some water companies pulling scams down in California, too. Promoting a bunch of people internally and giving them $200,000 a year or something like that.
Oh, man, you should see all the real estate fraud they commit out there when I used to live out there.
Oh, yeah, I heard the real estate fraud there is out of control. I heard someone told me that I had someone on my show a few weeks back and they were telling me down there the real estate fraud is out of control. It's so out of control that they're going to have to get the military involved because that's how bad it is.
Oh, listen to this, Mike. You work at McDonald's as a cashier, you know, making minimum wage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you go to your real estate office and you say, I want that house over there, and the house is like $1 million.
Yeah.
So what they do is, the real estate agent puts, he works at McDonald's, but he's the district supervisor.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say you're the cashier. They don't verify nothing.
Oh, I see. I see. They don't verify it. That's we were talking about that earlier. That's bad for the client because the client is the one that's going to lose. The banks don't lose. The banks never lose.
So then the person that works at McDonald's make a minimum wage. What they do is they rent out every single room in the house so they can pay the mortgage.
Yeah, they rent out every single room, $300, $400, $500 a room. Then everyone splits the water bill.
$650 a month, like in LA for a room.
Yeah. No, I hear you. 600. Wow. I know a guy that called into the show. I think it was like 6 months ago, and he was renting a tent for $500 a month in Australia.
Are you kidding me?
He was renting a tent in the guy's backyard because he couldn't afford a room because a room was like $1,500.
Did they give him permission to use the kitchen and the restroom?
Yeah, he does. It was community. There was like 10 people renting out tents.
Because in LA, you always ask, and when you go in a room, do you your right to use the kitchen and the what is it? Kitchen and the
bathroom.
You have to share it with other people.
Yeah.
Oh, and listen, this, Mike, I know you probably don't believe me, man, but the owner of the house, the person that's financing the house, guess where they live?
Where?
Sometimes in the living room, or what they do is they convert the garage into a room.
Yeah, I've been hearing about people converting garages into rooms. I heard about that. That's been happening in California a lot. And those attics above the garage, they make an extra room up there. Oh yeah, they try to make as much space available. Too much on the market right now. Creating too much availability. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I want to ask you a question, Anthony.
What's up, Mike?
If you were under pressure, or let's say you were still living in California, let's just say, and you were single, would you squat in a house if you had to?
Squat in a house?
Yeah, squats, like live in a house, but it's an abandoned house, but the people don't know, so you kind of snuck in and you're living there. Would you squat in a house if you had the
I know that scam already because I knew somebody that was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is they look for in a neighborhood like a house has just been like evicted.
Mm-hmm.
Go in there, they break in there, and what they do is they go to the local electricity over there. I think it's Edison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Edison. They go to Edison and they start paying the bill, the light bill.
Yeah.
The gas bill. And they start receiving mail there. And as soon as the bank, whoever owns the property finds out, they just can't go in there and kick them out. They have to start an eviction process.
Yeah, that could take
And
six.
it could take either from 6 to 3 months to get them out of there.
Yes, it's like 3 to 6 months. Yeah, depending on the situation, right?
No, just by law, because the law over there like sides with people like that.
But would you squat in the house if you were in desperate situation?
If I had a car, do I have a car in this situation?
Yeah, okay, you got a car.
Screw that, man. Knowing the knowledge that I have, I would have put all my stuff in my car and get the heck out of that place.
Yeah, okay.
Gas in the gas tank, and if I don't have that much money for the gas, I just drive really slow. On Craigslist. Put that on Craigslist, somebody pay for my gas, and I do the driving and get the heck out of that place.
Anyways, I'm coming up to 2 hours now. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Okay, Mike. You have a good night. I gotta go, man. I'll talk to you later. God bless you all.
Adios.
Please subscribe to Mike and Walking Journey. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Adios. Anyways, guys, that's my open lines. I'm tired. I'm unplugging from open lines now. I'm going to sleep. It's like 11:49 here. We're approaching the midnight hour. I want to thank everyone that's listened to the show, that's came through and called. I want to thank Steve for calling into the show, and the first guest that came on, I forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but thank you for calling in. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll probably do one of these into the night shows, Rants and Lifestyle, where we can just people call in. If you want to talk about housing, fine. You want to talk about student loans, you want to talk about Bitcoin, you want to talk about investing, we could do that. And thanks, guys. I appreciate everything, and stay strong, and get me out there. Hopefully I get more subscribers. I've been my views, I don't know why, but I've lost like 350 or 400,000 views off my channel. It just disappeared, and it's like stale. Like no one's checking me out, and it's not. I don't think it's that. I think it's just people can't find me, or I'm not at the surface level that YouTube is looking for, or I'm not the kind of channel. I'm the bad actor, like they say. I'm considered a bad actor channel. Like, it's not the real thing. It's Mickey Mouse. I think it's what you say that counts, or what your message is, and I think the media is the message, and you don't need a $5 million studio to get the show out. Anyways, no, I'm not going to use clickbait. Clickbait is no good. It's bad because it makes, I'm not desperate, All the AdSense money I have that I make, it automatically gets deposited into the women's shelter I've been donating to 8 years anyway. All of it, I don't even get it. It just goes right to there. Thanks for watching, guys.